I should really know not to reach for the phone this strong. Laying on the floor after one more night where I couldn't quite get back to bed. Staring at the ceiling, throwing words on a text I'll never send. But oh, I miss you and everything about that town.
Good morning. Here we are again at AOK Studio. Dick Ritchie's, speaking in third person, Dick Ritchie's studio. So I dug up a couple slip joints I have already had because I canceled my order with Blade HQ. So I won't be getting two real steel slip joints that I had ordered, and I won't be getting the Appalachian with Nitro V steel. I'm pretty bummed out about that. So if you know me and you know my channel, you know that I like to entertain conspiracy theories. So my Blade HQ conspiracy theory is going to be, I scored too hot of a deal, and it must have an algorithm. In my mind, this is something that I would see big business doing, is that they would have an algorithm based on cost of goods, resale, what that margin may be or what that margin may not be. And if that margin goes under a certain percentage, the order gets flagged and they put it on stall. While it's on stall, they compromise the order so that it doesn't go through, so there isn't a loss. Now that seems like a lot. For a $120 order is what the total value was of the whole order. To lose a customer, that seems like it wouldn't be worth it to me. What if that algorithm kicked off? Maybe the algorithm kicks off at over $100 orders. Something like that. Who knows? You know, the corporate world is really, it's a bunch of elitists. People that think they're better than the other people. So they create this circle that's above everybody else's circle so that they can make these rules and they can set these guidelines that are unrealistic, that make no sense, because they aren't superior to the circles and the realms below. They just aren't. They just happen to be fortunate to have gotten to that second tier, that other level, so they could create this group of people to make these stupid rules, which in turn has completely destroyed our economy and our market, if you ask me. It's just it's a downward spiral. Corporate. Unions. Not a big fan of unions. I don't mind the prospect of people unionized or a union-based group of people that stand up for each other when something wrong happens. But it always ends up going too far to the wrong direction. It always does. That's like you have Americans right now that stand up for 2A, Second Amendment rights, freedom of speech. Specifically, if you look into the Second Amendment with the guns and knives, but guns, how the American population in whole, except for the weirdos and the people that don't, the same people that eat cheeseburgers but they don't want to kill a cow, those people, they want safety and they want a safe country and they want a free country, but they don't want its citizens to be armed to guarantee that freedom. They can't put the two together. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting off track though. I think there's a corporate circle at Blade HQ that set an algorithm on orders. This is really deep. I'm sorry. But it could be. It is not far-fetched. It really isn't, folks. We have to maybe think this way on occasion so that we can surface crappy stuff. And when I say crappy stuff, I mean I put in an order. I buy a lot of knives on Blade HQ. I buy a lot of knives. Just this year, I bought over 100 knives. I've given away over 100 knives. I probably bought closer to 200 knives. Now, do I buy them all on Blade HQ? No. For this reason, shipping takes a little bit longer. How do you have a company that's supposedly American-based, I believe, but how do you have a company that isn't focused on competing with Amazon? Because I can go on Amazon and I can order virtually everything that was on this order on Amazon and get it in 2 days. Shoot, Amazon's even going as far as getting you stuff the same day now. You may pay an extra $5 and you can have the knife today. If I might order a knife today and get it today just to show you. I'm filming with my phone, so I can't order it right now while we're talking, but I'll find one. And I'm going to video that. And if I can't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow, where I order it tomorrow and I get it tomorrow. But my point is, I had a Civivi Appellation on there with Nitro V steel. It was either Nitro V or it had great steel, but it was Nitro V, I believe. It was a slip joint Appellation on sale. Then there was 2 real steel knives. Now, I've never bought a real steel knife. I was excited about getting a real steel knife. They had 2 slip joints, 2 different types of slip joints that were real steel, and they were a real steel. They were on sale and they were dirt cheap. And from what I hear, real steel makes a pretty damn good knife. I was about to find out. So there was 3 knives. One was an Appellation with Nitro V. It's really hard to buy a knife with Nitro V for under $100. You're starting to see it more common now. And then there were 3 lanyards, I believe with titanium beads. Lanyards aren't cheap either, folks. Piece of string that goes off the back of the knife, and then you have a heavier bead or some type of thing on the end of it that weighs that string down so that you got your knife in the pocket, and you got string hanging out of your pocket with the weighted bead to keep it by your side and not float around or the whole string go into your pocket. So that you could then tug on the lanyard that's hanging out of your pocket with the bead and pull your knife out of your pocket. You don't need a knife, you don't need a pocket clip. But I was getting all that for $120. Probably what the price of the slip joint with Nitro V should have cost alone. So something made me think, just maybe Blade HQ has an algorithm that says, hey, if the order's over $100, if it doesn't meet this margin, if it's a loss, we drag our feet on the order and make them cancel so that we can then reevaluate, put the inventory back on stock, evaluate the pricing, change it, and not let this person win. Now, that's just me being paranoid. That's me conspiracy theory on just stuff. Because I believe if you're a conspiracy theorist and you're not a complete wackadoodle, there's a good chance there's probably a greater percentage of your theories being true than not true. If you got a brain on your shoulders and you got a level mind. I got on Amazon and I thought, okay, I'm going to order 3 more because it's what my intentions were to have 5 total, to have content for 5 days for 1 week on slip joints. And then I was going to pick one. Now, of course, the 2 on Amazon came in 2 days. That was the Rough Rider Coal Miner. And I should have ordered these from Smoky Mountain. But their shipping isn't incredible either. Don't get me wrong. You know, they don't have the resources Amazon has. I get it. But you know what? This is sitting on a shelf. You have a guy pull it off the shelf. You put it in a box. You put the address on the box. Then you have the post office pick it up that day. And it should be at your customer's house in 3 to 5 days. Or sooner, typically. And that's just USPS. Now, if their Smoky Mountain Knives is in Tennessee, I believe, I'm in Indiana. So I should get the knife next day, UPS or even USPS. So really, it could be a 1-day delivery if they had somebody hustling in the warehouse. Trust me, I would be doing that if I had a business like them. If it was just product sitting on the shelf. Now, I make my lights custom order. You know, I have to make that light. Pack it, make it, pack it, and ship it. And I get a lot of orders. So I have lead times, and I explain those lead times out of the gate. People know it when they order the light. It's a couple weeks, few weeks, whatever it may be. But it's different. It's a custom light. It's not a pocket knife sitting in a box that's this big that can fit in an envelope and go USPS the same day. And all you need is some flunky in the warehouse to go grab it, put it in a box, put the address on the box, and set it out for the pickup. I've been in that business, folks. I know it's true. So when they're not doing it, they're being lazy, or they don't even want to hire some flunky to make $15 an hour minimum wage. But don't get me started on that. So I have this buck. This thing is so tiny. Now, this is reminiscent of a case of an Old Henry, of a Rough Rider, of a Cold Steel, of a Schrade. And it's a buck. Because those names of companies I just said, to me, are the premier Boker. And there's a few more. There's a couple I wanted to order that were priced, and I wanted to check the history first. Because if they had a good, strong history, I want the knife. If they're not, and they're just some new knockoff Chinese company that said, oh, we're going to make slip joints this week and act like we've been making them for decades. No, I don't want those slip joints. But this is a buck. And I believe, give me 1 second. Okay, so behind me, I have a cool poster, all the different knife styles. It has the different blade styles. It has all the different things. So when you're dealing with a nail nick / slip joint that does all these different things, like this has two separate blades on one knife coming from one end. So that could be a trapper or a copperhead. Now, if you had one blade coming out this way and one blade coming out that way, they call that a canoe. And then if you got two knives on each end coming out, they call that Congress. It's crazy. Now, this could be a trapper, copperhead, whatever. If it just had one knife looking like that, they call that a toothpick. I think a toothpick or something. I don't know. They got so many names, it's hard to tell. It's pretty cool, though, because that's part of knife culture, folks. There's depths to knives. There are things. Back in the day, they didn't really get into locking knives and folding knives as much as we do today. And if it was a folding knife or a locking knife, it would have like a lock back right on the back here. Now, I like slip joints. I'm kind of an old-fashioned guy sometimes. I like tradition, and it reminds me of my grandpa. So this slip joint here is a continual, it's just a straight continuous. There's no stop in the middle. I don't know the name of that. You can tell me, but see how that stops? There's a good detent lock right there. By the way, this is the Rough Rider Apta. It's kind of sleek. It's one blade. Wharncliffe. It's got a really cool dual compound grind on it. VG10 steel. Micarta. Really nice brushed, probably brushed aluminum bolsters right there. Lanyard hole, because on my slip joints, I got to have a lanyard. Because they typically don't have a pocket clip, and I don't like them when they do. And I like a nice thin slip joint knife for the pocket. This coal miner is quite a bit chunkier because it's got two blades. It's just a little heavier, a little chunkier, and I prefer something a little lighter, a little sleeker for this use that I like. I'll put a lanyard on it, lanyard bead hang out my pocket, and I got myself a really, really cool slip joint knife. This Rough Rider here was like $27 on Amazon, and it was great. It's great. This is what I consider a choice slip joint knife. I'm a real big fan of Rough Rider these days. I've got a flipper, and I've got these two slip joints, and I'm going to buy more. The flipper and this coal miner slip joint here will be up for giveaways because I do giveaways. You know that. But this is the coal miner. And it's got this bone handle that looks like a piece of coal. It's really, really slick. But it has two blades, and it has this like sheep's foot Wharncliffe looking blade. The steel on this is 448. Let's see what the other blade looks like. Pretty good blades. This has got a drop point. A lot of times these slip joints, specifically this little buck right here, the blades are so fine, really, really thin, and I like a little beef to my blades. Now, depending on what you're using it for, I could definitely use this, and I could have some fun with it, and I could get some work done with it for sure. But I've got to be honest, I prefer a solid, sturdy blade. I don't know why. I'm not out there cutting wood with my knife or anything stupid like that. But hey, it's what you like. If you like it, you like it. This is an old Kershaw right here. This is part of the Kershaw 5. Now, I put it on hold for a little while because they don't have the time. But I'm currently in the process of doing a cartoon, a comic, an adult comic on 5 kids, Kershaw 5. 5 kids that are in the foster system or not in any system at all, but alone, and they're out there and they find each other and they unite and they fight back. They fight back against bad adults. They fight back against bad people, bad things together. They're the Kershaw 5. And they do it with Kershaw knives. A 5-pack of Kershaw knives is what motivated these kids to fight back. So that's a little take on, check it out. This is the cover renderings, the first illustrations I've done to start it off. And I just got to work on the storyline. I'm not a writer. I don't have the mental capacity to hold on to the story or to get it down on paper. So it takes time. It's going to take a lot of time for me, but I think it could be really cool. And I think people will find it kind of interesting, but I'm going to go straight Pulp Fiction on it. I'm not going to hold back any punches. It's going to be gore. It's going to be blood. It's going to be rough. It's going to be hardcore. It's going to be Kill Bill. It's going to be whatever that director's name that does all those Pulp Fiction movies. Forget his name. Who cares anyways? But it's going to be like that. I'm going to try. It's going to be freaky. You're just going to be like, oh yeah. You're going to be like, I'm glad this kid is killing this adult or something like that. I don't care. I don't know what I was going to say. Another thing about slip joints makes them kind of good is there are states and there are countries that have laws against knives that lock. Stupid. You got some jackass in Parliament or in Congress, any government, that actually think it makes a difference. Like it's gonna keep you from being any more aggressive or dangerous if your knife locks or doesn't lock. It's just garbage bureaucracy, red tape bull crap, where they just makes them feel good, like, hey, we won one and we control you. Because I tell you right now, I can hurt a person just as bad or not as bad as that knife that locks versus the knife that doesn't lock. This knife right here, I can slice a person up just as good as I can with this one that locks. It just doesn't make any sense. But there you have it. Slip joint week is over. Yeah, I know. It got rained on by Blade HQ. Think twice about ordering from Blade HQ, because I think they play stupid games. I really do. I don't think it's as deep as the conspiracy theory I threw out there. But you never know. You never know. Because they did just say UFOs and aliens are real. U.S. government. But if they're saying that's true, how can they say anything else isn't true? Really? Is there any more far-fetched thing in this world than an alien?